Does the Bible condone slavery? Answer: slavery is believed to be history. Slavery, forced labor, sex trade, inheritable property, etc., affects over 27 million people worldwide. As people rescued from sin, followers of Jesus Christ should lead the fight to eradicate human slavery. Why does the Bible not condemn slavery? Why does the Bible seem to condone slavery? Old Testament slave ownership was popular before the Mosaic Law. The law neither created nor abolished slavery, but regulated it. It regulated slave treatment, but did not outlaw it. Hebrew slaves. Jewish men and women could sell themselves into slavery to another Hebrew by law. They could only serve 6 years. They would be freed in year 7, Exodus 21:2. The arrangement resembled indentured servitude. Treat slaves well. Do not enslave them. Consider them hired workers or temporary inhabitants, Leviticus 25:39-40. The legislation also required, when you release them, do not send them away empty-handed. Give them freely from your herd, threshing floor, and winepress. Give as the Lord your God has blessed you. Deuteronomy 15:13-14. A liberated slave could become a servant for life alongside his Lord. Exodus 21:5-6. Jewish slaves in Gentiles. After conquering Canaan, the Israelites had to expel or destroy all the inhabitants. However, many Gentiles remained in the area notwithstanding that injunction. God said the Hebrews might acquire slaves from the surrounding nations. Your male and female slaves are to come from the nations around you. You can even buy temporary residents and clan members from your country and make them your property. You can give them to your offspring as inheritance and enslave them for life, but you must not brutally rule over your fellow Israelites. Leviticus 25:44-46. The law allowed slavery. Exodus 21 contains slavery regulations. Slaves gained basic rights, and owners were limited in a new way by these rules. No slaves had rights beyond Israel in ancient times. But God's law gave slaves the right to keep a wife, verse 3. Not be sold to foreigners, verse 8. Be adopted into a family by marriage, verse 9. And have food and clothing, verse 10. The rule restricted masters' bodily punishment, verses 20, 26, 27. Hebrew slave Gentiles. A Hebrew could sell himself as a slave to a Gentile in Israel under the Mosaic Law if economic circumstances required, Leviticus 25:47. The legislation allowed slave redemption at any time, verses 48-52. Hebrew slaves were to be treated as workers hired from year to year. You must see to it that those to whom they owe service do not rule over them ruthlessly. Verse 53. On the year of Jubilee, slaves and their families were released if redemption failed. Verse 54. New Testament slavery instruction. Even in the New Testament, the Bible did not require slave owners to free their slaves. Instead, the apostles taught slaves and owners godly behavior in that society. Masters were warned against slave treatment. Ephesians 6:9 instructs masters to treat slaves kindly. Do not threaten them because you know that their master and yours is in heaven and does not favor anyone. According to Colossians 4:1, masters, provide your slaves with what is right and fair because you know that you also have a master in heaven.